Hello and welcome to our second DIY AMA. Ask me anything. Thanks for the questions and photographs coming in. Let's get stuck into them. This is from Alison Jordan, one of our DIY Fan Forum members. She says, "Hi everyone, need some advice about my central heating system. I'm having to bleed most of my upstairs radiators every few days. They have loads of air in them. However, one of them never needs bleeding. I wondered what might be causing this and how might I prevent it in the future?" So Alison, it could be a number of things. There may be a leak somewhere in your radiator system that's actually letting air in there and your water is bleeding away somewhere. And of course that air will always travel its way through the house and finish up in the top of your upstairs radiators because it's got nowhere else to escape then. If you're bleeding that and the air's coming out and you're topping the water right back up again and the same thing is happening in a couple of days, I would advise you to get a gas central heating engineer to have a good look at it, because there's various things that can go wrong. You know, the hot water can expand the pressure in there of your pipes, etc. You might have a split somewhere where it's letting air in that you don't know about it, but they'll do a pressure test on the whole system for you. But Alison, I certainly would get it looked at because your whole radiator system won't be running efficiently. And the last thing you want to be doing in this day and age is wasting gas heating up that water and wasting electricity of the pump circulating it around the house. Next up is Willie. He writes in to tell us he's got a new log cabin for his hot tub. It has a shingle roof covering. Rain has been extremely heavy over these last couple of days. He's discovered a couple of leaks. Any recommendations on how to fix this? Is there a paint seal, etc.? He asks. Well, Willie, if it's a new one, it shouldn't be leaking. I'd maybe talk to the manufacturers about it, because it might have a fault on there if it is leaking and it is a new one. However, if it isn't new and you've bought it second hand and maybe fitted it on there, the wooden shingles sometimes split and come apart because they shrink a little bit. Then you have to take them off from the top and work your way down and get to the broken one to obviously replace that. Now that can cause quite a lot of damage, you know, on the rest of the roof on there. If you were taking them all off, it might be worth felting it, batting it, and then putting the shingles back on again. But if you don't want to go to all that extent and you find that one or two of the tiles, the shingle tiles, are cracked or shrunk, and that's where the leak is coming through, what you can get yourself a little piece of tin, just about this size or a little bit smaller than what the actual roof tile is itself, or a piece of rigid plastic. Get a little bit of our 3Cs multi-use, put a little bit on the back and slide it under the split or the broken tile all the way under, nice and thin where you can't see it. Once that glue grabs on there and dries, any rain coming down on the roof, if it does go through the crack, it'll hit your tin plate or your plastic sleeve and it'll just carry on trickling down and hopefully off the end of the roof. This question's from Wonder of Watchers from YouTube. He says, "It's Craig from Big Bro, the first one." You're right there. Anyway, I've been trying to remove my bath panel because we have a leak down through the floor and it's causing damp into our kitchen ceiling. I wanted to see if there was some water behind the panel, but I also wanted to reseal it with silicone. I'm finding it difficult to remove the panel without breaking it. It's wedged in behind the floor tiles. Ooh. And then the overhang at the top of the bath. Oh, and then it overhangs at the top of the bath. Any suggestions on how to free it? Okay, yeah, sometimes when bath panels have been there for a long time, they do get quite brittle and they can break and split and crack if you're a little bit heavy-handed in taking them out. It may have been stuck in well with some silicone, because I always recommend gluing them in really well so there's no movement and there's less chance of them breaking. However, when you do come to remove them, you're going to need to get a trimming knife, a long flat trimming knife, and cut all the way around the four edges of it, two sides, top and bottom, wherever it is meeting the top of the bath, the side wall. And by what you're telling me here, it goes down behind your tiles. Not very good. So you might have to slide the knife down there and see if there's any glue or silicone around there. Cut it all the way around and hopefully you'll be able to remove it then. However, I think it's fitted not the best way. Ideally, your bath floor tiles should have went right the way under the bath and you wanted your bath panel to actually sit on top of it, or just a couple of little like matchsticks underneath just to prop it up that little bit, and then you can seal it with silicone. But you've also mentioned here that at the top of it, Is it up against the top of the bath? That's wrong again. It's hard to explain, but where the edge of your bath curls over, you've got a gap underneath there, and your panel should slide underneath like this. So any water off the top, or splashes, or off a shower above, goes down off the top of the bath and then down the panel. But if that's facing that way, your water then can be running down there and then gathering underneath and behind the bath, which consequently is coming through and damaging your kitchen ceiling. So you do need to remove it, that's for sure, and then try and get it refitted properly. We do have another video, if you have a follow, of the link here of me fitting a bath panel. That may help you out. But also, when you've got that bath panel off, check that all the legs are nice and sturdy and it's not moving around anywhere, and check that the seal where it hits the walls of the shower area or just the edge of the bath is also sealed. Again, we've got videos on our YouTube channel showing you how to do that. Now, Thomas has sent us some photographs in, and he asks, there are plastic panels keep sliding out of the underside of the bottom row of my roof tiles into the gutter. Can anyone tell me what these are for and why they keep slipping out? Okay, Thomas, initially, before I looked closely at the pictures, I thought you might have had these cross-flow ventilation plastic strips that sometimes just go underneath the tile and help circulate air in and around your attic space, but they're not. They just look a flat, smooth one that's bent over. Now, my recognition of doing pitch roofs like that, before you put them first couple of tiles on, there's a plastic trim that kind of hangs down into the gutter area and goes over your felt. It comes up so far, and it's normally pinned in to the second or the third batten. By the look of it, these look like they've been placed in and they're sliding down. So unfortunately, you might have to remove the first 2 or 3 layers of your roof tiles to be able to fix them down in place and then sit the tiles down on top. It's quite a tricky job, I'm afraid. John's written in and said, can anyone advise me on how my shed is letting in rainwater, please, and possible solutions? Thank you. Well, John also sent in a few photographs, and it could be a number of things. The way the tongue and groove are on them sheds, if they have much water coming towards them, they do weep in a little bit. But looking closely, you don't have any gutter on the shed, so that'd be my first point of call, because whatever size that is, the rainwater on that is going to be running down, and then it's just trickling off. The wind will be blowing against it, and it will go all the way on the sides of your shed. Also, it looks like your window is boarded up as well there, John, so the board looks like it's done from the inside. So again, any water that's coming off that roof and running down there, it's running into that window and it's catching behind that tongue and groove and probably coming inside. The third thing I've noticed as well is one side of your floor finish, it looks like decking, is higher than the base of the actual shed itself. So if you've got a lot of rainwater or surface water on there, is getting blown or brushed or just traveling that way, that also is going to be hitting the side of your shed. So maybe try and move it 1 inch or 2 away if you can. But first point of call definitely is the gutter, and sort that window out. Maybe put a sill on there. This one is from YouTube. It's from Hardworker. And he says, when I removed the downstairs skirting board, the plaster was 70mm from the floor. Now, this is normally like that. It stops any damp or anything water up there travelling up through the plasterboard. So you do usually have a gap from the floor, and there was wooden wedges knocked in between some of the bricks flush to the plasterwork, and the skirting board was nailed into this. That's how they used to do it many, many years ago. The wedges have got a little bit damaged, so I need another way of fixing the skirting board back to the wall. I'll be using 3-inch skirting board, but what can I use to pack out the wall up to 20mm thick so it's flush to the plaster? Yeah, that is quite an old-fashioned way of them putting little noggins in between the brickwork and then nailing through. So forget them noggins there. If they're loose and damaged, pull them away, repoint it all up so your brickwork is solid. And in that gap, you can just get a 20mm batten or a couple of battens along there, and you can either fix those on with some 3C's multi-use, just bond it to it and it'll grab really, really well. And then you can also glue your skirting board directly over the top of that. But my advice, when you've got 70mm gap and you're going to use a 3-inch skirting board, remember that's only 75mm, so you've only got 5mm It's actually going to catch the plasterwork. If you haven't bought your skating board yet, I'd recommend a 100mm skating board. That's 4 inches. And that way you can put a lot of your glue all the way down the top of your skating board and on the batten that you've just glued to the brickwork, bringing it flush, 20mm, so it's flush with your plaster, and then you can glue your skating board on there without using any mechanical fixings. So thanks very much for your questions and for photographs you sent me in. Hopefully my answers will help you. Don't forget to keep commenting below, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or our YouTube channel. I'll do my best endeavour to read them all and answer them. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.